Hey guys, Colton here. We'll get back to the podcast in just 1 minute. I just wanted to let you know that my new book, 24 Rules of Masculinity, is officially out. If you've been resonating with the topics we've hit on in this podcast, discipline, purpose, identity, what it means to be a man today, this book was built for you. It's a straight-talking guide packed with hard lessons, biblical principles, and the kind of clarity that I think a lot of us are starving for. So whether you're just starting on your journey or looking to get back on track, I wrote this to be something that you can pick up, apply, and carry with you. You can find the 24 Rules of Masculinity on Amazon and through the link in the description. I would love to hear what you guys think. Now, back to the episode. Welcome back to Chasing Masculinity. Today, we're diving into another masculine essentials topic where we break down fundamental masculine lessons in shorter episodes. Today, we're talking about one of the hardest disciplines a man can learn, the art of saying no. Every man wants to do more, wants to be more, give more, but few realize that strength isn't how much you take on, it's in what you refuse to let in. Most of us grew up believing that the measure of a good man was how much weight he could carry, about how many people he could help, about how many hours he could work, or how much he could endure. But that's not necessarily discipline. That could be exhaustion disguised as purpose. Saying no isn't about selfishness, it's about stewardship. It's the recognition that your time, your energy, your focus, these are all very limited resources, and a man who spends them carelessly will find himself broke in all the ways that matter most. We live in this culture that glorifies busyness. Everyone is chasing something, success, recognition, approval, but few men stop to ask, is this actually mine to carry? We've been conditioned to say yes to everything. Yes to one more commitment, one more meeting, one more favor, one more distraction. The result is a generation of men that are spread pretty thin. We're spiritually empty, and we're just constantly distracted. But saying no, firmly and intentionally, is an act of leadership. It's not about rejection, it's about direction. It's about guarding your time and your purpose from anything that doesn't align with who you are and what you're becoming. When you learn to say no, you are reclaiming the control of your life. A man who cannot say no will never have enough room for what truly matters, because every yes that you give out is a piece of your attention or your strength or your future handed away to something that might not deserve it or will otherwise take away from what matters more. So this episode, it's about reclaiming that authority. It's about setting those boundaries, and it's about focusing your energy, protecting what is sacred, your mission, your family, and your peace. Because real masculinity isn't about saying yes to everything, it's about knowing what deserves your yes and having the courage to say no to everything else. So with that, let's get into today's episode. So to start, I want to talk about the masculine problem. That is, our boundaries are fading. We have this cultural conditioning. There's this modern society that's teaching us as men that we need to be endlessly available. We always have to be accessible by text or email, work chat, phone call, social media 24/7. We have to remain flexible. Flexibility and adaptability are often disguised as these expectations to sacrifice your personal priorities for maybe others' convenience. The yes man is praised in corporate culture. He's agreeable because he's dependable and he's always online, but that doesn't always mean he is respected. I mean, how many of you feel this cultural conditioning where if somebody asks to go somewhere or to have you do something, even if it's not something that you want to do or you're comfortable with, because you have free time on your calendar or there's nothing else that you're currently blocked off for, you just say yes because you think, because I'm free, I owe my time. And there is a cost of saying yes too often. Men lose their sense of direction because they're pulled in every direction. Being constantly available all the time is going to erode your authority. People might stop respecting your time when you don't even respect it yourself. Now, I don't want this to be confused with being reliable. If you always say no to everything, that's an issue too. What I'm trying to get at here is the idea of that yes man, that corporate yes man. Because saying yes to everything just cheapens your word. People are going to stop believing that your yes has any weight. There is a masculine decay that is occurring through this overextension. A man who never says no ends up serving everyone but leading no one. Imagine that. You as a man, that is your ultimate goal. That's the path you're on, is to be a leader. In whatever bubble of life you have, you are to lead. It's what you're destined for. And if you are constantly saying yes and serving 100% everybody else's whims and desires and needs and asks, you are never going to be able to get in the position to lead. You're only ever going to serve everybody, but not yourself. These are weak boundaries that create burnout, bitterness, some lack of purpose. Weak boundaries equal weak conviction. A man's conviction is proven not by what he says yes to, but by what he's willing to deny himself. Yes, I really want cake. If someone offers me cake and I say yes, that doesn't say much about my character. If I say no, that says a little more. Think of the man who always says yes in every single social invitation just to avoid discomfort, but he never actually builds up any discipline or direction in his own life, or then never has the time to actually develop who he is and develop his own character and his own identity. Or the husband who says yes to every bit of extra hour of work so that maybe he can provide for his family or so he can get a promotion, but then he loses his presence at home. Or a friend who says yes to every single favor, but then becomes the man that no one really ever takes seriously because he never stands firm in his own beliefs. He only is the agreeable guy who you can get to say yes to anything, to agree to anything, to sway to any viewpoint you pressure him. And that's also what I'm getting at here. When I say we need to redevelop the art of saying no, it doesn't mean if your friend asks you to move on a Saturday that you were just going to sit around and watch football, that you should say no because it doesn't fit in with who you're trying to become. I'm talking about a grander sense of what it means to say no. It's not just your schedule. It's not just maybe turning off your work phone when you get home, although that very well could be a part of it. What I'm getting at is the ability to say no and stand in your own conviction. If you're with a group of friends that have different political beliefs than you and they try to pressure you, you need to be able to say no and stand in your own convictions, in your own truth, in your own beliefs, and not be swayed for some sort of interpersonal agreeableness to avoid conflict. There is a philosophy behind what saying no really means. Saying no is not just this blatant rejection. It's a direction. Every no is actually pointing you closer to your purpose. Saying no to a distraction is saying yes to a growth. Saying no to a temptation is saying yes to your integrity. The difference between men who drift and men who lead is that clarity in their direction. So saying no is a part, it's a puzzle piece of your direction. And there is no within your spiritual and practical maturity as a man. Boys are going to chase everything. Men are meant to be different. Men are meant to choose things deliberately. Boys will chase everything. Men will choose deliberately. Saying no is that sort of emotional control in action. It's that delayed gratification, saying no to your laziness and going to the gym, or saying no to your temptation and not getting that cookie someone left on the counter at work. It's that self-command. It's being able to take control of your life and your actions and being able to command yourself to do the hard thing. It's having focus. Focus on what is important. Focus on who you're trying to become. That is all that emotional control in action every time you say no. And that self-respect begins with self-restraint. And these boundaries that you are building and that you're creating, they are defining that identity. A man who knows what he stands for naturally knows what he will also not stand for. Without those boundaries, your identity is just going to get written by the demands of others. Dr. Phil says, are you going to row your own boat, or are you going to have somebody else do it for you? There's no third option. There's no option to not row the boat. Either you're making the decisions or someone's making them for you. Who do you want that to be? Who do you want to have control over your life? Saying no builds the walls that protect that purpose, your purpose, just as discipline builds the structure that's going to end up supporting it. That's the masculine principle behind all of this. Your no means nothing if your yes is cheap. Every yes should carry the same weight to your wife, to your calling, your goals, your word. When you say your yes is sacred, your no becomes more powerful. And that means when you say yes, you need to mean it and you need to do it. And so saying no, the art of saying no, is going to end up helping protect the sacred. And that starts by identifying what is sacred. First, family time. That is sacred ground that no external obligation should trespass. It's not to say that there needs to be separation of church and state. Your friends should never know your home or your family or your wife and vice versa. It means when it's family time, it's family time. It's the same with spiritual life. That's the second one of what's sacred here. That could be your quiet time, your prayer, your reflection, the things that are going to restore your clarity and peace, or it could just be your drive to work when you listen to a sermon, or just sitting in a pew at church listening. That is sacred. You want to say no to protect those things. Another one is your purpose. That's the third thing that's sacred. That is your work, the work that moves you towards your mission, that moves your mission forward. And the fourth thing that is sacred is health. Your body is a temple. It was gifted to you. You need to upkeep that, to have strength, to have endurance. That's what's going to keep you moving forward. That's what's going to keep you rowing your boat. You cannot neglect that entirely. And the last one of the things that are sacred, identifying what is sacred, is your integrity. That is a moral line. That's the line in the sand that can never be crossed. When you say no or yes, and then you go back on either of those, that line gets blurry. You step over that line in the sand. And when you are protecting what's sacred, every no that you say becomes a sort of shield. Each time you refuse a distraction, you're reinforcing your walls of focus and purpose. And the more you say no to what drains you, the more room you make for what's actually going to build you up. You can't guard your home if your door's always open. Every open door is just an entry point for more chaos to enter your life. That no becomes a shield. Saying no to checking your phone in the morning might protect your clarity or your focus, or saying no to your friends on a Friday night might protect some sacred time that you've already set aside for your wife or your family. Saying no to the side projects or the gossip at work will protect your long-term goals. Saying no to impulsive spending protects your discipline and your financial stability that you very well could be stewarding. That's why it's so important to discern between what's urgent and what's important. What do I mean? Urgent things scream for your attention. There's emails, requests, there's noise, but important things are going to shape your life, maybe more quietly than the urgent things. That's your prayer, your purpose, your presence. Masculinity is the discipline to silence the urgent, all the things that are trying to claw into your life and get your attention, and to prioritize the important. That's the masculine principle. And every yes that you make is an investment, just as every no you make is protection, that shield. It's guarding your time, your energy, your purpose. It's to not withdraw from the world. It's to redefine your leadership within it. A man's boundaries, that's the framework that's going to hold up his mission or his peace or his legacy. So you need to define your non-negotiables. Start with clarity. You can't say no effectively if you don't know what you're saying yes to. Every man needs some sort of code, a small set of definitive and immovable priorities that serve as a sort of compass for your decisions. Here's a little exercise to go through. Write down 3 things that you will not compromise on. Just 3, something that's easy to remember. It could be your faith and your moral integrity, or your family time and your presence, or your physical health or daily discipline. Something that you know, maybe you're already practicing, that is immovable. If somebody asks you to do something that's going to compromise one of those, you're already willing to say no to it. These can become your filters. If a request or an opportunity or an obligation doesn't align with these pillars, then it's a no. If your family time is sacred, that means saying no to working late or scheduling these meetings that could cut into dinner time or bedtime with your kids. And if your discipline is sacred, that means saying no to staying up late for some sort of meaningless entertainment like Netflix or Disney Plus. And if your purpose is sacred, that's that mission in life that you're driving for, that means saying no to side pursuits that could distract you from whatever that mission is. Because these boundaries, without priorities, are just kind of guesses. And a man's no must be anchored in that conviction, not some sort of convenience, not where he's at now, but the boundaries that he's defined already. Next thing I want to talk about is delaying your yes. That means pausing before committing. There's a lot of pressures that modern life is going to put on men to respond instantly. Your text, your email, your invitations, your demands, any notification you get on your phone. Discipline starts with slowing down your response time. If a delayed yes will protect you from regret, then saying yes too quickly is probably not worth the risk. Here's my rule of thumb. If you can't articulate why you're saying yes, then it might be a no, or at very least, you need to sit on it. I'll get back to you is not a weakness. That's a strength in evaluating. If you're being asked to take on another project at work, ask yourself, will this advance my long-term goals or distract me from them? Will this legitimately help with my career path, my success, my goals? Or is this just another distraction that someone's peddling off to me because it's convenient for them? And are you even in the position to say no to these things? You very well could be. Before saying yes to some sort of social invite too, ask yourself, is this something that's going to restore me or is it going to drain me? If you're trying to get better and redefine your life and you go out and you party too much and your friends ask you to go to the bar on another Wednesday night and you know you're going to be out till 2 a.m. and drink too much and spend way too much money, ask yourself, is this a positive social interaction? It could be. Maybe you do need to go out. Maybe you need that social life and you need to meet up with your friends. Maybe it's been a while. Maybe there's a connection that's been lost. But it also very well could be something where you immediately recognize, no, this is just going to drain me financially, drain me physically. I need to get up early the next morning. I need to stop drinking so much. I need to get my health in check. You need to be able to say no to the things that maybe you really want to say yes to, but you know are not going to advance you, or at very least, it's just not going to be good for you. That instant reaction of wanting to say yes to things is emotional, but taking your time and having a deliberate decision is masculine. Now, when you say no, you need to be direct, but not defensive. You can say no with confidence without adding an apology. You don't owe everyone an explanation. The more you justify your no, the more you might invite some sort of negotiation. Some examples of being direct but not being a defensive or adding an apology would be like, I can't commit to that right now, or that doesn't align with my current priorities, or thanks for thinking of me, but I'll pass. Each statement is polite but firm. There's no excuses. There's no over explanation. It's just a simple no. The goal is not to convince others to agree with your decision. You've already made the decision. It's final. It's just to uphold your own standard. A man who is clear does not need to be defensive. It's already decided. And that ties in to your body language and your tone. That's that eye contact, the calm tone, no hesitation. Your no should sound like a decision, not some sort of debate where you're having to think about it first. Now, I want to talk about replacing the noise, because every no you say creates more space. So you need to fill that intentionally. The reason so many men relapse into distraction is that they don't know what to replace once they remove things. You can't say no to the noise and then fill that space with more noise. Replace these empty commitments with purposeful routines. That would be like reading instead of scrolling, or training instead of lounging, family dinner instead of another pointless meeting, quiet reflection instead of this constant stimulation. Why does that matter? A man who doesn't structure his time is going to have it structured for him. Silence and solitude, these aren't signs of laziness, they're training grounds for clarity. You could create just one day per week an off-limit zone where you have no phone, no media, no distractions, and just use that to read or think or plan. Just put it on your calendar, and you don't have to have it all planned out to what you're going to do in that, 30-minute hour break. Just do something that's not a distraction. Do something that's not noise or chaos. Last thing I want to talk about is training your focus muscle. Focus is a skill. And like any skill or like any muscle, it needs to grow through resistance. That would be like small daily refusals that build the strength so that you can make the big ones. And you just start small, saying no to checking your phone before, 7 a.m., or saying no to sugar or alcohol or other impulses for a set period, or no sweets after 8 p.m., saying no to unproductive conversations that are only there to waste time, or to gossip. Now, the trap I've fallen into is that means I'm at work to work, don't talk to me, don't want small talk. I'll start walking away mid-conversation so that it's clear that this is done and I want to go back to my desk. But it does mean you don't need to walk around looking to waste time, or looking to gossip, or looking to get out of whatever your duties or responsibilities are, especially when those are going to negatively impact you. Or, again, like the workplace gossip. That has no place at any given moment. There's no reason to go around doing that. Those are the bits of unproductive conversation that are only going to waste time and erode who you are. Every act of self-control is going to strengthen that part of you that is capable of this deeper discipline. This focus is built in moments of temptation, not in moments of peace. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Men who master that focus are going to end up mastering life, because leadership requires attention, not just some sort of action. The core idea here is that focus is the modern man's superpower. In a world that's drowning in distraction, attention is now kind of the rarest currency. And you can't lead without clarity. Leaders think, they plan, and they act intentionally. Chaos is going to consume the men who live reactively. That would be responding instead of directing. You can't protect things as a man without this peace, without space, and this constant noise is going to erode your peace. Without some sort of silence, you can't really hear your own convictions. You're constantly muddled by noise. And saying no creates that silence. And it's in that silence that a man grows. Silence allows that reflection, that correction, that spiritual restoration. It's the stillness. It's in that stillness that men make their most powerful decisions. So, please audit your structure. Think of your mornings. Are they intentional or are they just pure chaos? I get it. If you got kids, I don't blame you. Think of your work hours. Do they move the needle, or are they just there to kind of keep you busy? And moving on into your evenings, do they replenish you, or are they just more draining or distracting? And your social time, is it purposeful or is it just escapism? So challenge that cultural myth. Busyness equals value. No, it doesn't. Busyness is the appearance of importance, not the reality of any sort of impact. Real men produce, they don't perform. Focused men build. Distracted men react. So as we wrap up today's episode, remember this. Masculinity isn't about doing everything. It is about guarding what matters most. A disciplined man doesn't measure his worth by how much he can carry, but by how much he protects what's sacred. Your strength isn't proven by how much you can endure. It's proven by how much you intentionally choose to where you spend your time, your energy, your focus. Boundaries that we put up, the boundaries we create, they're not walls that are meant to keep the world out. They're walls with gates, and you're the gatekeeper. It's like controlling the tap or the faucet. You decide what gets through. Every yes should have to earn its way through the gate, because every yes is going to take a piece of your strength or your peace or your purpose. And when you say no with that conviction, you're not shutting people out. You're not shutting the world out. You're not becoming a hermit. You're just protecting the space that allows you to lead better, to grow, and to stay grounded. The man who learns to say no leads himself first, and that leadership naturally extends to his family or his work or his influence. When other men see you holding your ground, when your wife sees you protecting your peace, when your children see you prioritizing what matters, you teach them something powerful. You show them that a man who guards his focus is going to guard his future. If you want to build a stronger life, start protecting it. Learn the art of saying no. Because in the end, your strength is not going to be measured by how much you did, but by how much you guarded what truly mattered. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Chasing Masculinity, guys. Until next time, keep chasing.